Greetings, everyone. This is Rock and Roll Spot Connection with the weekly comic book roundup. We've covered this week's Marvel books. Now it's time to move on to this week's DC titles, of which there are only three. There's supposed to be a fourth, but it looks like it's been delayed until a later week. Excuse me. Anyway, so the last 2 months, the majority of the DC books to be released were part of the Future State. Had the Future State branding on them. They take place in a not too distant future not too distant possible future for each of the books, or for the various involved characters, and yeah. This was in the aftermath of Dark Knight's Death Metal. And we recently got. As kind of bookend Future State was Generations Shattered and Generations Forged. So now we've got Infinite Frontier number 0. This book largely sets up, basically starts to set up the various new DC titles. We've got a Justice League story, a Superman story, a Batman story, a Green Arrow and Black Canary story, a Wonder Woman story, Stargirl, Wonder Girl, Green Lanterns, Green Lantern, Alan Scott, Flash, Teen Titans Academy, as well as an epilogue. Apparently, in the aftermath of Death Metal, Wonder Woman is is invited to join the Quintessence. The Quintessence are a group of insanely powerful cosmic beings. It's kind of like the Council of Space Gods, but they're not all space gods. In fact, the membership consists of Highfather New Genesis, the Venom Stranger, the Spectre, Ganthet of Oa. I think we got Zeus, and I'm not sure who the other one, but there's one other I'm not sure who it is. But she's not entirely clear. She's actually kind of detects she heard there's an evil, a threat that's already formed and which needs to be taken care of. When Justice says, "Hey, yeah, we don't know anything about it." No, there's no threat. So to get things off, the Superman story. Superman arrives to save the day, but it turns out he's been beaten to the punch by Black Adam. I'm not calling him Shazam. That is the dumbest dumb name. Flash also shows up and is told about what happened, and well, Superman's actually kind of hopeful. Maybe Black Adam is turning over a new leaf. Next, we get our Batman tale. It's being narrated by an unseen narrator, as one of the guards at Arkham makes his way through, or makes his rounds, and he finds Bane, seemingly dead from Joker gas. In fact, the other guards are all dead. Calls in for the emergency. Oracle basically gets the Batgirls, Cassandra Cassandra Cain and Stephanie Brown to look into it. Grifter shows up to get with the Foxes to get Lucius and his son into a panic room. Renee Montoya is discussing what's going on in Arkham with the mayor, and Batman is on his way. On to Mascara. Hippolyta, Wonder Woman's mother, is consumed with grief at the loss of her daughter. And others are some of the other Amazons are fighting to become the next Wonder Woman. Nubia appearing to be the front runner. There are three, and so Hippolyta brings them to a challenge, explaining that it's the head of the head of the Gorgon Medusa, but it's actually the crown of the Amazons, and Nubia is named Queen of the Amazons, while Hippolyta will be taking on the mantle of Wonder Woman and venturing out into man's world. Meanwhile, in Brazil, Yara Flor is discussing various things as she is about to go aboard a plane, and however, she's being watched. Spectre and Wonder Woman then visit looking on the Justice Society, where Alan Scott has called his son and daughter, Obsidian and Jade, together to tell them something important. Turns out, Alan's gay. But he's been asked to be a sentinel overlooking the totality of this world, and he didn't think he would be right to take the job without finally being the whole of himself, with his friends and with his family. Then we get some kids being arriving at Titan's Tower, Titan's Academy, and one of them pulls a mask out of his book bag. Mask with a skull and a red X on it. Metropolis, John Kent is saving the day, but the Spectre claims that John must be prevented from ever being Superman. He's fighting a creature called the Imperial Maw. It's a nexus of space and time, and John flies into it. We also get discussion of his past, and but he's doing something unexpected on the Spectre, showing wisdom and compassion, and he saves the Imperial Maw after it was lost, and takes it back to takes it back home. But the Spectre says, "Okay, maybe I'm mistaken, but still, John Kent bears watching." In Star City, Oliver Queen and Dinah Lannister are enjoying a night together when all his phone rings. However, the caller says it's too soon and hangs up before the call is answered. So they don't know who it was. Turns out it was Roy Harper, back from the dead. And he hits the road with his thumb out. Next up, we got Stargirl, who's fighting the villain Midas. She's also late for school. Her stepfather, Stripe, Pat Dugan, helps her out, both with Midas and with fending off the principal, who's mad that she's late again. But something's come up. The soldiers need Pat, and so Pat tells his stepdaughter, "This is something worth skipping school for." We then cut back to the Batman story. Batman has arrived at Arkham. Turns out, he's instructed the thought to be one guard still alive on how to clear the air. However, turns out there are a couple nurses using oxygen in a storage room to stay alive. However, if the fire gets them, it will kill them. He heads towards Gotham. The serious narrator is still narrating, and we see clips of other Gotham luminaries: Harley Quinn, Ghostmaker, Jim Gordon, Catwoman, the Penguin, Clayface, Red Hood, Clown Hunter, Nightwing, Punchline. But the guard goes to save the nurses, gets them out of there, and there is an explosion. In fact, it looks like he may have lost an arm in the process. Batman arrives as the explosion occurs, and he asks the guard. Oh, he also lost a leg, but the guard asks if the nurses made it, and he explains that they did, and the guard simply says that he's gonna sleep now. As GCPD shows up, he tells them that there are still people alive within Arkham, 17 to be exact, and he's going to save them. Elsewhere in Gotham, a man by the man is talking with the Scarecrow, Simon Saint, an entrepreneur, a businessman who seems kind of like a twisted version of Steve Jobs. This is taking a visit from the Scarecrow and telling him about his magistrate plan. Elsewhere in the galaxy, Jon Stewart and Simon Baz are on their way to Oa with the apparently Teen Lantern. He's learning the history of at least the core, if not other things. At the House of Heroes within the multiverse, Barry Allen shows up. Then he goes to speak to Wally West. He's explaining that basically there's a group forming called Justice Incarnate. Representatives from throughout the multiverse. Basically, they're going to be observing the formation of it, mapping it out. And so that's going to kind of, so it's going to kind of make it so that Barry's spending a lot of time with them instead of being Flash. So instead, Wally will be the Flash again. The two of them head back. Then Wonder Woman and Spectre continue their path through the universe, and we see bits and pieces from other things. We see Deathstroke, Aquaman, Mira, their daughter, the other Green Lantern, the other Earth Green Lanterns, Booster Gold and Blue Beetle, Peacemaker and Amanda Waller, Shazam, the Titans, the other members of Justice Incarnate, Swamp Thing, Supergirl, Justice League Dark, various others. And so the quintessence said, basically say, "Hey, so you ready to join us?" And she's like, "Nah. You show me all people, chart going forward, with changed lives and whatnot. And you know what? Yeah, I'm going to, I'm changing as well." And so she returns to Earth. However, turns out that the Quintessence already dealt with that mysterious threat she mentioned. And in fact, they imprisoned it on Earth Omega. However, the Quintessens are promptly attacked upon arriving on Earth Omega by none other than Darkseid, claiming that he is the end, which is where the issue begins, or where the issue ends. I mean. Yeah, you can't have one of these one-shots without setting up a new threat. Next up, we've got Batman, number 106. Where we left off, in 105, Harley was kind of leaning more towards being a hero. Batman had formed an alliance with an old acquaintance named Ghostmaker. And, well, yeah, there's been... And something has happened at Arkham. Someone let off some Joker toxin. But was it Joker? So the issue begins. The man is strapped to a chair, eyes being forced open, and he's trying to keep himself clear and focused. Turns out that this man is the prisoner of none other than the Scarecrow. And the identity of Scarecrow's guest is revealed to none other than Batman. Turns out Scarecrow wants to show him just how important fear truly is, how necessary it is. He's trying to think about what he remembers. The last thing he remembers is being so... How it all started. On the road, a woman's voice. The woman being Oracle, but a group called the Unsanity Collective has robbed Atchison Cole, the CEO and owner of the Gotham Gazette. Stolen a bunch of his artwork, basically. And they have a hovercraft of sorts, but Batman's chasing them down. His Batmobile has an autopilot, sort of, but he basically switches that on, goes after the hovercraft, while the car goes after continues chasing the members of the Insanity Collective on the ground until Ghostmaker shows up. He's reminded not to kill, not to maybe just, knock them unconscious. Turns out the leader of the Insanity Collective is a mysterious Master Wise, with a Y, W-Y-Z-E. And he claims that this is only the beginning. The people are going to see what Insanity has to offer them. At Robinson Park, though, Batman's brought the glider down. Ghostmaker's shown up with his two, and they basically leave them for the cops and race back to the garage. To the garage. However, Harley's heard about what happened, and she is late to things. And basically arrives at a rooftop just in time to see the GCPD arrive to arrest the Unsanity Collective. In Midtown, the Simon Saint is speaking with the mayor. Basically, apparently Simon Saint grew up in Gotham, which is why he came back to Gotham in the first place. And he says that it used to be that the people shaped by Gotham's fire were the envy of the free world. Now, no one in the free world would willingly live in Gotham if they didn't have to. But he tells them of his magistrate program. He's a dedicated group of 1 to 5 specially chosen peacekeepers deputized by the city, gives them the support and resources to stop a Bane or a Joker or whoever might try to destroy Gotham City next. Basically, the idea being, normal police aren't designed to deal with supercriminals, which is kind of true. These magistrates are. But also, the mayor says he'll discuss it with his advisors and let him know. The meeting, however, is being watched by the Scarecrow. In the section of Gotham that Batman now lives in, Fort Gray, yet another reporter is showing up to try and get an interview with Fort Gray's newest resident, Bruce Wayne. And basically, he goes over the facts of the Insanity Collective case while sparring with Ghostmaker, former previous victims. Alan Granville, CEO of the Gotham Broadcasting System. Michael Shake, owner of the Gotham News Network. Victoria Hart, heir to the Gotham Globe publishing fortune. Wyndham Mark, owner of WXGC Radio, and now Ashton Cole at the Gazette. Apparently, the Insanity Collective is starting the people who control the mood of Gotham. And Batman theorizes they want to make the city afraid. At the mayor's mansion, he asks that his people remind him in the morning to put an end to the whole Simon Saint project right off, because the mayor claims there's something eerie about him. He claims that the whole time he was sitting there, it was like something was itching in his brain. As he watches the news and pouring himself a drink, however, it would seem that Mayor Nakano is not alone. The Scarecrow is there as well. That's where the Batman story ends. We then have a Robin backup story in Markovia. A group of armed guards are taken down one by one, and their employer, Talia al Ghul, greets a visitor who is at the moment unseen, but revealed to be none other than her son, Damian Wayne, who has left Batman and come back to be the heir of the demon to the demon throne. However, as they discuss things, and actually, Talia's kind of disappointed. A group of assassins show up, looking to kill Talia. They're the League of Lazarus. Apparently, Talia knows of them, and she does intend to tell her son. Well, after she is supposed to do so after killing the League, and seeing her son in action, she actually is impressed. However, one member of the League does manage to take one of the surviving member of the League of Lazarus manages to take Talia hostage and has a knife to her throat. And it seems that maybe he pulls it across, and that is where the issue ends. Also, let's take a quick peek at this wraparound cover that we got for Batman 106. All of Gotham's all of Gotham's costume denizens. Well, some of Gotham's costume denizens, at least. Alright, which brings us to our final book of the week, Crime Syndicate, #1. Now, what, pray tell, is the Crime Syndicate? Well, when we're talking about DC Comics, the Crime Syndicate is basically the evil Justice League. Traditionally speaking, the Crime Syndicate calls Earth 3 in DC's multiverse its home. You have basically evil versions of the Justice League, of the various Justice League members: Ultraman, Superwoman, Johnny Quick, Power Ring, Atomica, and of course Owlman. So the issue begins on November 22nd, 1963, and apparently on Earth 3, young Clark Kent assassinated JFK, who seemed to be more of a military dictator than a president. In the present, a guy at a newsstand is talking to a customer about the various others that, Emerald got Esmeralda something or other over in Coast City, Owl in Gotham, and the Daily Planet turns out has done an opinion piece called "Is Ultraman Losing His Grip?" And so Jimmy Olsen is talking with editor Cat Grant, saying, basically, do you really think it was a good idea to write, a hit piece against Ultraman? She claims that they have nothing to fear as Ultraman rams the Daily Planet truck through the top floor, the newsroom window, and promptly threatens Grant. But then he hears something and flies off. In Arnold, D.C., a couple members of the FBI are wanting to speak to the president, but one of his associates explains that even if they were founding father Benedict Arnold himself, the president has asked not be disturbed while meeting with the Themysciran ambassador, Donna Troy, aka Superwoman, who has President Queen trussed up and is basically, saying, okay, well, so you belong to me, and as a down payment, you should do the following. But then something happens, and whatever this is, it seems to excite him, or to excite Superwoman. In Coast City, John Stewart, Power Ring, watches as a cop arrests a Coast City citizen, basically takes them both and kills them, but he's informed of an incoming crisis. In Central City, Johnny Quick and Atomica are basically running through the city on a bit of a high-speed killing spree, but again, something happens and Johnny Quick is briefly stopped. Turns out what it is the arrival of Starro. Ultraman fighting off Starros in Metropolis basically kind of pulls, hey, Metropolis belongs to me or belongs to no one. As he incinerates a large portion of the city. In Gotham, Owlman arrives, prevents a mugging, killing the would-be mugger. However, it's caught on video by the man he saved, who claims to upload it on Pixtagram before Master Thomas's butler kills the would-be mugging victim. But it's explained that Owlman is part of the Court of Owls, and the Court of Owls have Gotham under control. With an alien invasion occurring, Owlman tells Alfred, presumably the outsider, to have the Talons lock down Gotham. Owlman needs to figure out why every major city in the world seems to be being attacked by these aliens, except for Gotham, and then exploit it. And that is where the main story ends. We then get the origin of Ultraman, which starts off pretty much just like the origin of Superman. You know, doomed planet, desperate scientists, last hope. But the Kents were duplicitous bastards instead, making Clark do all their chores. His powers manifested early. He's made fun of by everyone. When he was a teenager, the Kents showed him the ship he arrived in, and because of the fact that there were, with his powers, some of his classmates did assume rightly that he was an alien. He figures that everyone knew, and it became clear that obviously that the Kents weren't trying to protect Clark. No, they just wanted to make sure that no one else took advantage. No one else took advantage of him. No one else used him. That is where he flies off into the night, and that is where the issue ends. That's be it for this week's roundup. As always, feel free to like, share, and subscribe. Links to my Facebook, Twitter, Patreon, and PayPal can be found in the description box down below. This is Rock and Roll Spock signing off, saying, live long and rock hard.